I would like you to reassess and reevaluate what is actually important in life, and to reacquaint yourself with the idea of flowing fluidly with the change that is already occurring, as well as letting go without so much turmoil or pain. Because change can be very, very difficult. And the labels we place upon that change, if we think that the change is going from a good thing to a bad thing, which even good and bad is just a label that we have presumed, then we will only mentally cause ourselves more suffering by labeling it as such, and then having that change occur, we create more friction around it. Examples of causing ourselves more suffering are when we have to look back to our past and just start keeping track of things. We're in deep survival mode when we do that, and there's a survival reason to do that, but we must also realize and trust that our bodies and minds can know how to address and to take a situation and do the right thing with it, even if we've made mistakes in the past, or supposed mistakes. Like, even the mistakes that have been made, that others have made, that we have made, we might be ruminating on those things and labeling them as such, and adding extra suffering onto it. I'm feeling like it's very difficult to describe. Like, I'm not explaining this as well as I would like to, so I will do subsequent videos to try to explain this further as well. But like, even this idea that I'm talking about, I'm not doing this perfectly, would perhaps stop me from making or posting this video, would perhaps inhibit me from getting a message out there that is helpful, that can reduce people's mental and physical suffering in some ways. So I'm going to attempt to continue with this message. And I'm looking to my life and the experiences I've seen with people getting so obsessed with physical matter, physical items. So much so that they're forgetting the underlying things that cause us to be able to make physical changes. And so where can we find harmony in the physical? Whether there's harmony in the physical or not, can we still find inner harmony? And yes, we can. And when we find that inner harmony, of course it's more likely to translate in the world around us as well. But even drop your idea of what you think harmony is. Like, a lot of us think it's this perfect order, organization. I like organization. I'm not a fan of order. And it's because of my own definition I've developed of those two terms. But even then, I'm labeling them and spinning a positive or negative connotation with one or the other. So like, order to me seems too like almost sterile, like too boxed in, and not life-giving, not flowing. Almost as if there's too many rules and too many restrictions in place to where there's no freedom of motion or thought or expression. Like, as if you're a human trying to act like a robot, giving into only the left side of the thinking, not the right. And what I mean is the typical labels people used to, I don't know if these are still in place, because I learned this like probably 10 years ago. No, not quite that long ago. Like 6 or 7 years ago, I learned about left and right brain, and the left being more mathematical, logical, and the right brain more creative. The left also being more language-based, some utilizing both sides of the brain. Like music, you use so much of both sides of the brain, and playing an instrument, possibly in singing too, I don't know. And then also sign language is one of those that you really are utilizing both sides of that brain. And it might seem that I went on a tangent there, but I kind of am, but it's part of the message too. I don't want to drown out that intuition, that right brain thinking. It's so important. The left brain seems to plan for needs and schedule the predictions of what is very likely to arise and be very prepared and map that out. The right brain seems to potentially go off the rails sometimes a little bit, but allow for new creative expressions, allow for growth, beauty, dance. To me, that's the stuff that makes life worthwhile, and it is life-giving. And the stuff that actually is the most important. I'm not going to say the stuff that matters, because there's a level of non-material in it, like maybe other dimensionally created thought forms, which isn't strictly matter. So I could say that's what matters, but it's actually what doesn't seem to matter that creates the way for the things that do matter to occur more harmoniously. The baseline is the heart, the intuition, the love, and from there, the organization, the love, the reason for why you're doing all this work comes into play. That's the reason for this whole game anyways. Because if we're only going into the left brain, if we're only being logical, we're only playing a game. We're a player at that point. We have a console. It's like a video game. You have a console, you're controlling this and that happens. There's no purpose or meaning or reason behind any of it. And that, for our human consciousness, is simply not going to be enough. It's simply not sustainable. And so what actually matters is the non-material. What is important is not ruminating and looping in previous cycles, but it's getting so extremely present that it's almost jarring. But once you get past the nervousness of the change of that all, it is the most harmonious thing you could possibly imagine. And to some degree, you realize that we are all existing in somewhat of a heaven, despite all the absolute horrible things we see happening around the world. The meaning is found when we let that go. So for myself, the two things I want to just not be so attached to, let go of, are one, rumination, because what rumination would potentially do is likely only continue the patterns that have been perpetuating from past experiences. And the rumination is also completely illusory. It's a story you tell yourself. That being said, with it being illusory, just as love is somewhat in your mind, not something you can technically realize as material or real, well, the rumination can also create things to happen in the physical as well. And what it creates is this hyper-moralistic good and bad. Like, yes, I do believe in a good and bad, but I think so much of the time we are hyper-moralistic about it and placing good and bad on far too many things, on every tiny decision, to where it can become exhausting. At least I see that more in like the culture around me and that pattern arising. And then the other thing is just being super obsessed with material things. It's like, let that go. Like, that stuff really doesn't matter, ultimately.